Hello again, everyone. My name is Ed Sullivan. I am the founder and CEO of Trust Exchange. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon. I apologize for the short notice. It was, excuse me, this was something that we put together in a short period of time based on inbound requests that we had from some of our customers and partners, requesting to see if we could solve a problem that a lot of lenders have, in that they had an influx of loans that they had to manage and no real platform to be able to manage the process for the forgiveness piece after the loans were granted and funded. So we worked with some of them and came up with a way to implement our platform that we think solves the problem. We think that we can do it very cost effectively, get people up and running rapidly, and provide a lot of the standard security, audit trail, et cetera, that you would need for a program like this. So what I'll do is I'll basically go over a quick introduction. I'll talk about how our platform works, what the basic mechanics are, and then how the architecture might be applied to this problem. And then have one of my coworkers here who will kind of give us a quick demo of the platform and how it works. So with that, I'll get started. Quick agenda, introductions, the solution, a little bit of background on the problem set, how we think that we solve this better than anything else that's out there because of our unique approach, high-level architecture of the solution, network effects, what they are, and how they will work here, demo, and then discussion and next steps. So my name is Ed Sullivan, founder and CEO, a serial entrepreneur. I started Trust Exchange several years ago based on a couple of ideas I had and frustrations I had while operating my other company, which is called ARIA Systems. One of the things that I realized is that because of the promulgation of outsourcing, tracking companies, or companies tracking each other for certifications, validations, viability, due diligence, recurring due diligence, was a pretty difficult problem, and that there needed to be a better way. Joining me here will be Susan Kamens. I'll pass it over to her once we're in the demo phase. But Susan is our VP of customer success. So she's responsible for everything that's customer facing, getting customers live, implementing them, and she's also the most familiar with the different implementations and functionality of the platform. So Trust Exchange, we are a collaborative platform, kind of like a Facebook meets Waze, the GPS software for business problems. Our platform allows users to connect, engage, and share information. We can implement fast. We're in the cloud, so we have a lot of scale. We're secure. We service banks, pharma, retail, so we regularly pass all of the due diligence for those types of industries and institutions. And then it's also very cost effective. Using Waze as the example, the cost of putting a helicopter in the sky to tell you what is going on with the traffic versus polling the drivers. We have a similar type of platform where you can get better information more cost effectively. And then as I go through this, if there are questions, if you could pop them into the chat, and I'll take a look at them when we get to the bottom of get to the end of the presentation. So we are, there's kind of four main pillars to our solution. So there's a governance framework that will allow our clients, the lenders, to go in, create policies, create procedures, checklists, et cetera, for their processes. So in this example, it'll be, if a loan recipient is applying for forgiveness, what are the things that they have to do? What's the timing of what they have to do it? And then what's true, what's false, what other things can you accept? A lot of flexibility in terms of coming up with this framework. We also have a way for you to align and coordinate all the key contributors that might be inside of your institution, the borrowers, and other third parties that may be validating things like payroll and audits and financials. We enable you to do real-time monitoring as things change. So you get a dashboard, which we'll show you in a minute, alerts, emails, and reports so that you can look at things retrospectively, you can get statuses on what's going on, and then being able to monitor throughout the organization what's going on and whether or not there are compliant with the processes that you set forth. So the key set of problems that we solve are what are called network effect problems. And a lot of people overlook these problems and don't really kind of realize that they are pretty difficult to solve. So if you look at a couple of, like, here are a couple of clients and third parties, like, this could be a bank and vendors, lenders and vendors, is how we're used often today. But the number, if you just map out the number of transactions and interactions between these parties, it gets complex pretty fast. And it's not just complex on one side of the transaction, it's complex on both sides of the transaction. So if you're a bank and you have 50 or 100 or more vendors, the amount of transactions and interactions you have to have is pretty high. Also, if you're a vendor and you have 10, 20, 50, 100 or more banks as your client, all those banks are coming to you asking you for the same information. I need your SOC, I need your audit, I need your proof of insurance, whatever it may be. So these problems are solved today. It was kind of like new technology that's Internet 4.0, and it's done widely in the consumer-facing businesses like Uber and Waze, AirBnB, and it's called the collaborative economy, where all the different layers come together. Using Uber as an example, riders, drivers, and cars are brought together on the platform in order to provide a better service faster for its customers. So that's what Trust Exchange does, is we have a way for all of the parties that are involved to submit information, collect information, see what's going on in real time with that information. So the other key thing about us is we think of business information as a multi-party transaction. So if you're a bank and you're requesting an audit from a business, or you're requesting proof of their payroll validation, there's really three parts to it. And the classic way of thinking about it is, I'm a bank, I'm going to call this business and ask them for that information, and they're going to email it to me or send it to me, etc. But more likely than not, that information was created by some third party or needs to have a review by someone inside of the lender's organization to validate it, say yes or no, it passes, it fails, etc. So what we do in the events that we have on our platform, we look at information transactions as events that have multiple layers of validators and creators. So when all of this stuff is firing correctly, we think that we create what's called like a virtuous cycle. So where the more people that are on there, the more people that are contributing, the better the data is, the faster. And we create these virtuous cycles inside of an organization if it's only the employees and contractors of the bank that are doing it, or if it's the lender and the borrower and auditors, et cetera, all contributing. It makes things kind of happen faster, higher quality, better information, et cetera. So I'll pause there quickly just to see if there's any questions popped up. No questions yet. So if there are questions, you can just kind of put them into the I think there's like should be a sidebar at the bottom. There's a way for you to put questions in. Okay, so this is an overview of the application. The main components are dashboards, which is that governance overlay that we talked about, policies, which are the rules that you would put inside the dashboard that you want your third parties to comply with, and then each of those parties would get a timeline. So in this case, it would be a lender gets a dashboard and sets the policies, and then the borrower would get the timeline. In the best case, you would have the borrower come in, through a link that you would give them, create a timeline for themselves, claim their profile, and submit the documents to you based on the policies that you have, right? Here's my application for forgiveness. Here's my payroll certification after, the first month, second month, first week, second week, et cetera. What is really interesting about our system and powerful is that these dashboards can be hierarchical. So you could have like the chief risk officer, or chief lending officer, or whomever looking at the master dashboard, and then you can divide the loans up based on, it's an account manager or a loan reviewer that manages all the loans over $2 million or under $1 million, or in the state of Pennsylvania. So all of these dashboards can be customized. The policies can be customized based on category, and then the companies can come in, subscribe to the rule set, and then see what they have to do at the next step to get it moving along. So the other components of the platform are events, which are we have standard events like audits, financial reviews, vendor review in this case, but they can be things that you may want uniquely for your process. So an example here might be a payroll certification or attestation by the business that they spent a certain percentage, or an attestation by their accountant that they spent a certain percentage on payroll, rent, etc. Also, these events can be verified. You can create a verifier rule where here's the event and it's a payroll event. Maybe it's self-reported by the business, but you need to verify it, either internally verify it or have a third party verify it. And going back to these policies for a minute, this is where you can kind of daisy chain logic together pretty easily and say, okay, I want, these can be ands or ors, and you can say, oh, I need, paychecks, and I need self-validation, or I need an internal review of what has been submitted. Or it could be, I need paychecks and an attestation and an internal review of what was submitted. So a lot of flexibility on these policies, what you're looking at, and also the ability to set a frequency for those policies. So if this is something, I want to do monthly, weekly, daily, it can all happen. And then everybody that's involved, from the chief lending officer down to the account managers, all broken out by categories, see what's red, what's green, manage the problem by exception versus managing 100% of the problem. So some of the things that I'm hearing from the people I'm talking to that have this problem is that they have underwritten more of these loans in a few weeks than they have almost in the entire prior year or longer. And that the infrastructure that they have to process commercial loans is not cost effective for these type of loans for a couple reasons. Reason number one, they're not going to be very long lived if they get forgiveness. If they don't get forgiveness and it converts, the margins on them are pretty low, and the systems that are out there are very expensive. So what we've done is we've put this together, working with our advisors and some of our customers to say, hey, can we do this in a way that's cost effective, can be implemented rapidly in a matter of days, and it solves the problem for everyone. The last thing on the architecture side are the reports. So we have a series of ways for you to get information out of this. So the dashboard would have alerts. So as you're looking at it real time, you'd be able to see, hey, this one's red, this one's green, or you're missing this report for this business, or this business just submitted the report, now it needs review. Then you can go in and look at reports over dates and say, as of today, looking backwards, all the reports in my categories, let's say I'm the $500,000 and above account manager, I can go in and say, okay, of my package of loans, I have 2 violations, or 2 things are red, and I have to go in and solve those things and nag those people or I may need to go in and do a review of something. So the other way we have information out is like a daily email journal that would come out to each level of that hierarchy, that dashboard, where they would get an email that says, inside of your loan review or your dashboard, here are the exceptions and here are the things that are going on and what you need to work on basically for that time period. So how does this all work? I think it's our network effects solutions solve a lot of the problems by using these social technologies and these network effect features to allow you to do some cool things. So for instance, being able to subscribe to your client, having them be able to subscribe to your rules, it allows you to propagate the rules based on category, have them propagate throughout to all of the customers, even if they change on the fly, right? So you can go in and say, let's say there's a new rule that the SBA comes out with for loans under $500,000. You can go in and create a rule out there and have it propagate to all of the people on the platform instantaneously. So, and it also goes to, all the roles on the platform. So the administrators, at the lenders, the employees at the lenders, the verifiers, and also the businesses themselves. Also gives you the ability to disperse that compliance validation through different types of third parties, either internal third parties or external third parties. So you can go in and see, okay, I need the financials validated by my finance team, or I need the payroll done by our HR team to make sure that it's true, or however those things are being validated. You can also allow the businesses to self-validate and submit an attestation that those are true. And it's just like following friends on a social network. When they submit that information, it gets transacted and gets broadcast to you. You get an alert that says it's done. So the other cool thing is that you get visibility throughout the network as you're moving through the network. So like Waze, as you're driving from point A to point B on the destination, you can dynamically see what traffic is changing, what hazards are approaching, where are the speed traps, etc., as the world is changing around you. So same thing with this. This dashboard layout gets you to see what's going on throughout the day or the week or the month, where these documents are being submitted, these documents are failing, allows you to be able to work on the exceptions, get the real-time information, have real clarity on what is going on in the process. So with that, I'll check to see if there's questions, and if not, I will turn it over to Susan. Does not look like